October 25th, 1992. It's week 8 of the NFL season, and as we're nearing the halfway point of the year, we head to Foxborough Stadium for the AFC battle between the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. For the Browns, to say that this is a big game for them would be putting it lightly, as after winning 2 straight games, winning back-to-back games at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers, they found themselves right in the thick of things with a 3-3 record. The bad news is that there is still a lot of work to do. 6 teams in each conference made the playoffs, and 6 teams in the AFC have 4 wins or more at this point, including 2 teams in the AFC Central ahead of them at 4-2 in Pittsburgh and Houston. So they weren't in the playoff picture yet, and they need to win this game in order to keep pace with the other teams in the conference. The good news, though, is that their opponent is the New England Patriots, who are hands down the worst team in football. New England was the only team at this point to not have a win, as they sat in dead last with an 0-6 record under head coach Dick McPherson, who seemingly had no idea what he was doing. The Patriots weren't just bad, they were a special kind of bad. 6 games in, and the Pats had lost 5 of them by multiple possessions. 6 games in, and the Pats were held to 7 or less in half of them. 6 games in, and the Pats had turned the ball over 18 times, turning it over 3 or more times in all but one of their games. They have the second worst offense in football, the second worst defense in football, and the worst point differential in football. On paper, this should be an easy win for the Browns, right? A red-hot team going up against a winless team that can't seem to do anything right at the moment. This should be a cakewalk. Instead, it was anything but that, as after this 19-yard touchdown pass by Hugh Millen to Kevin Turner, we were nearing the end of the first half, and the Browns only found themselves up by 2 points, leading it 9-7. The Browns hadn't capitalized on their red zone chances, and the Patriots were making them pay for it. And considering the fact that the Patriots were getting the ball back to start the second half, you could say that things were getting a little bit dicey and nervy for Cleveland. They still had 2 timeouts remaining, so if they could get a good kickoff return and start the drive off with good field position, then they'd position themselves to potentially get a score before the halftime break, and add on to their lead and get some of the momentum back that was lost on the previous drive. And sure enough, after Randy Baldwin returns the kickoff 34 yards and finds some space to get it out to the 48-yard line, right near midfield, the Browns find themselves with that opportunity that they wanted. 2 timeouts, you're right at the 50, and you've got a chance to pounce on one of the worst defenses in football. So let's see what you've got drawn up here.
To Belichick yesterday, he says Tomczak has a real good feel for this offense. He can run the 2-minute if he has to.
Here is Kevin Mack pulling his way across.
Okay, so you're gonna run the ball. I'm not sure I understand the logic here since the clock runs, but whatever. You got 2 timeouts. So naturally, Browns head coach Bill Belichick decides to use one here, giving his team 1 timeout left with 22 seconds, giving them quite a few plays to get into field goal range, and giving them the opportunity to make it 12-7. And
left side, Rod Smith, the left corner on the stop.
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to try to get anything done here. Just run the clock a little bit and go in. But Mike Tomczak is a very efficient quarterback in that 2-minute offense. I'm kind of shocked that they're not even going to try to get it down for a field goal.
You're kidding me. You're actually kidding me. You're near midfield. In fact, you're past the 50 now, and you waste 10 seconds and let all that time come off the clock before calling your second timeout? You run the ball to get a modest gain, and then you let 10 seconds come off the clock before burning the timeout? You're wasting all that good field position and valuable real estate? There is no way this is going to backfire on them, right? There is no way that they're going to have to line up for a long field goal that they could have gotten a lot closer on if they actually ran some plays and didn't manage the clock like incompetent morons, right?
Footballs after standing around.
Well, he has the wind with him as Stover gets it free, but it is no good. So the New England Patriots off a touchdown, and the closing seconds of the second half are within 2 of the Cleveland Browns.
Thought so. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, This whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of a Cleveland Browns head coach, Bill Belichick. Back it up, boys. This is the winner to the age-old question I get on stream and in the comments when people ask about this segment, which is, who is the greatest coach that you featured on this segment? I featured some great coaches on here, including Bud Grant and Andy Reid. Even the best coaches make mistakes and have no idea how to manage a game every now and then. And Bill Belichick, the 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach, has to be the runaway winner now for the best coach featured on here. Of course, at this point in 1992, no one viewed him as a great head coach, as he didn't really do a lot with the Browns. But still, to think that Bill Belichick could wind up on here for something that he did in the NFL is insane to think about. Yet, you can't possibly excuse this. There are a lot of questionable decisions that Bill Belichick has made that have some sort of justification, from benching Malcolm Butler at Super Bowl 52 to the decision to go for on a 4th and 2 in that infamous 2009 game against the Indianapolis Colts. But this one, there is no justification whatsoever. This was just stupid, and even by 1992 standards, made no sense at all. So with that being said, let's take a look at why letting 10 seconds run off the clock before calling a timeout when you're trying to drive down the field and score is a really bad idea. And unfortunately, there was no reporter that asked Belichick about the decision afterwards, seeing as the Browns won the game with little time left, and won it on some incredibly gutsy coaching down the stretch. So, unlike other episodes of this segment, especially ones that take place in the modern times, right after the game is done, or episodes that take place after Belichick's girlfriend was born, I can't break down the coach's logic and explain why it makes no sense. However, we're going to look at this one, even if Belichick doesn't have an explanation for it. At this point, you've got 2 timeouts and 22 seconds left. I'm not crazy about the run call, but if the idea was to just cross midfield so you can attempt a Hail Mary in the absolute worst case scenario, fine. Either way, you call the run, and now you're at the 46. Suppose you call a timeout. Ideally, knowing your kicker is Matt Stover, and his accuracy over his first year and a half is really good from inside 40 yards, and is really bad from outside 40 yards, you want to get it to about the 23-yard line to give yourself a realistic chance at making the field goal. You call a timeout with 22 seconds left. And now, if each play takes 6 seconds, you have 3 plays to get inside 40 yards. You need 23 yards in 3 plays to have a realistic attempt, knowing Stover's history. So you need to average about 8 yards per play. You even have a timeout available at your disposal if something goes haywire, or if you want to call a play over the middle of the field. Bottom line, you have options. You have a realistic shot against arguably the league's worst defense at getting the requisite yardage to making it a 12-7 game. But now, let's say you don't take a timeout like an absolute moron and decide to let the clock run down to 12 seconds before taking it. At that point, what are you trying to accomplish? You want to be aggressive and score before the half, so you take the timeout. But you also want to be conservative and not do anything stupid, so you don't take the timeout right away and you call a run on first down? What was the philosophy here? What was the strategy? Is there something that I'm missing here? Now, you only have time for 1 play and 1 play only. If you want to get it into a field goal inside of 40 yards, you now need to get 23 yards on 1 play. Instead of having 3 chances to get 23 yards and get points, you only get 1 chance to do it. Instead of needing to average about 8 yards per play, you need to average 23 yards per play, which is a lot harder to do, because the bigger number is harder to accomplish than the smaller number, as you might expect. If you don't get the yardage you need, you gotta try a Hail Mary, versus if you call the timeout right away, you don't need to try a Hail Mary right away. The only reason I could see that Belichick decided to let this play out the way that it did was because the Browns had the lead, and they didn't want to take any chances turning it over to give the Patriots the ball back and give them the lead at the halftime break, with the Patriots getting possession to start the second. But even that makes no sense. It's not like the Browns were starting to strive on their own 20. They were past midfield at this point. Let's say the Browns call timeout with 22 seconds left and don't get the first down. If they punt it back to the Patriots on 4th down and just boot it out of the back of the end zone, or angle it, or make it a fair catch opportunity, the Patriots are just going to be taking a knee going into the half, or the clock might even expire at that point. If the Browns don't get the yardage on 2nd down, you could call a run on 3rd down, then take it all the way down and try a Hail Mary on 4th down. If you get the yardage on 3rd down that you need to get the first, you can even try one more play. The point is that unless you turn the ball over, the Patriots were not going to be getting the ball back anyways, let alone getting it back with a chance to score. And if you were that afraid of a turnover, then why do you throw the ball on 2nd down? Why did you even call a play in the first place instead of going into the half with a score in your favor at 9-7? You get why the logic is contradictory, right? If you're going to be aggressive, then be aggressive. If you're going to be conservative, then be conservative. But when you have the ball at midfield, run it on 1st down, take time off the clock, then call timeout, then throw it on 2nd down to get into field goal range, I don't know what your strategy is anymore. You're just winging it. You don't trust your quarterback in the 2-minute drill, but you also do trust him. You don't trust your offense to not turn it over, but you also do trust your offense to not turn it over. Bill Belichick is serving 2 masters here. You can't serve 2 masters and be successful. This bizarre clock management and 2-minute drill in 1992 was the prime example of a mistake that a lot of coaches make when they're starting out, and seemed like something straight out of the Aaron Glenn Jets playbook all those years later. Ideally, what you do in this spot is not run the ball on 1st, because you only want to be stopping the clock on chunk plays over the middle. But even if you do run the ball and only have 1 timeout left with 22 seconds, ideally, you call it right then and there. And then you have the entire field available at your disposal, since you can still stop the clock going over the middle. And you can obviously use the sidelines. You actually make the defense's job a lot easier by calling them out with 12 seconds left, since you really only have time for 1 or 2 plays, and they just need to protect it up to a certain yard line and don't need to worry about you going short. This is a long-winded way of saying that there are many ways to attack the situation if you play it correctly, and that the way that Belichick managed it was, quite possibly, the dumbest way to attack it, as he did just about the one thing you couldn't do. Maybe you just forgot the clock was running. Who's to say? What we do know is that for a man who knew how to exploit the rulebook and use every loophole at his advantage and know the game situation inside and out, and come up with strategies that seemed insane to the common fan, but were absolutely genius, and for the man who always seemed to be 3 steps ahead, he had his screw-ups every now and then. And this was a big one. This might be the worst clock management of Bill Belichick's career. And even though the Browns won this game later on, it's probably a situation that Belichick would want to have back. Belichick cost his team 3 points for no reason at all. So what did we learn from all of this? If you're trying to score and you're not trying to run out the clock, then call your offense in a way that maximizes the number of plays available at your disposal. If you're past midfield and there's little time left in the half and it's 2nd down and you have a timeout and there's no chance for the other team to get the ball back, you have no reason to not try and score. If you're trying to play aggressively and conservatively at the same time, then it's going to backfire on you and make you seem like you have no plan whatsoever. And if you have timeouts and have chances to stop the clock and have those lifelines available at your disposal, then use them to your advantage and don't help the opposition with them. In other words, don't do whatever the heck Bill Belichick did here. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name of the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.